Liu Bajiu, a middle-aged wanderer with half a body still single, his parents are old and should go home, but he feels embarrassed to go back because he doesn't have money. Fortunately, he has a legendary world. It's really great to be able to withdraw items from the game space to the real world. Keywords of the novel. Carrying the legendary world with you without pop-ups, carrying the complete collection of Legendary World TXT download, carrying the latest chapters of Legendary World with you. Chapter 1. Legendary World. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 2. Game Space. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 2 Game Space. A huge island is lush like a primitive forest, except for a huge peach forest on the west side, in which there is a small village faintly visible. There are not many houses in the village, but there are jewelry stores, weapon stores, grocery stores, pharmacies, and clothing stores. The light rain is drizzling, and peach blossoms are falling like falling clouds all over the sky. The dim sky does not hide its beauty, and the fresh air carries a hint of floral fragrance. Liu Bajiu lay next to the pharmacy, letting pink petals fall on his body and rainwater soak him. At this time, Liu Bajiu's thoughts had drifted back 20 years. At that time, Liu Bajiu was only 16 or 17 years old. After graduating from junior high school, he followed his parents to work in the Pearl River Delta region. He was poor and had to leave his hometown. After all, in the countryside of that era, relying solely on farming could only ensure that he would not die from hunger. At the beginning, Liu Bajiu also came out to work with the idea of making a name for himself, so he was full of energy for a few years. Due to his limited vision, he earned a monthly salary of over 1,000 yuan, and Liu Bajiu did not feel inferior. Besides being young, there is naturally infinite hope for the future. Until Liu Bajiu played Legend World and met a girl named Xue Juying, whose real name was Li Shisha. The two met in an internet cafe, playing the same game on two adjacent machines and coincidentally on the same server. It must be said that it was a kind of fate. Team up together to play equipment, PK together, take a late-night walk together, and the relationship deepens. Finally, the small hotel starts. Until Li Shisha brought Liu Bajiu back home. Liu Bajiu will never forget what Li's father said to him back then. Our locals tend to prioritize men over women, so my property will definitely be left to my son. If Ashi follows you, can you guarantee that she can still live a luxurious life like this? You graduated from junior high school without a diploma, a person who works away from home, and has no social connections. You may not understand these things, so let me put them in a simpler way. Do you know how many documents are required to open a factory? Do you know how to smooth out relationships when others make things difficult for you? I'm afraid I won't even give gifts. You don't even know how to match the colors of your clothes to look good. Young man, Ashi won't get used to following you. Love will eventually fade away in the midst of daily necessities, followed by endless arguments and complaints. The cause may even be a small matter, such as your parents. Your parents can still live their lives because they share the same values, but in the end, you and Ashi can only go their separate ways. Why not separate early instead of waiting for the final scale injury? That way, it can still leave the best memories in the other person's heart. In the end, Liu Bajiu left the luxurious villa covering an area of over 1 acre with a heart full of disappointment, and then gritted his teeth and vowed to show off as a person. Unfortunately, everyone wants to stand out, but only a few can truly develop. The more one wants to move forward, the more they can understand the cruelty of society. Memories are just memories, even if there is reluctance in the heart, it can only be put on hold. Liu Bajiu wiped his eyes and couldn't help but frown as he watched the beautiful scenery of peach blossoms flying like sunset in front of him. Although my heart was wavering just now, I still remember a reminder in my mind. Welcome to the legendary world. Liu Bajiu thought for a moment and muttered to himself, quit. You can exit in 24 hours, with 23 hours and 50 minutes left. The prompt in your mind reappears. Take it as it comes. Liu Bajiu, who has already been beaten to pieces by society, can naturally achieve peace and contentment. Of course, it can also be said to be a broken jar and a fall. After getting up and patting the petals on his body and wiping off the water stains on his face, Liu Bajiu looked at his environment. As far as my eyes can see, all are peach blossoms. It is the time when I see flowers but not leaves, and it is also the most beautiful time in the peach forest. There is an ancient wooden building next to it, with a banner written with the word medicine. Under the eaves, an old man in ancient attire is touching his beard and looking at him with a smile on his face. Liu Bajiu hesitated for a moment, arched his hand, and said, "The old man is polite, I'm Liu Bajiu." After all, everything seen and touched here is so real, even if the mind suggests that this is a game space, Liu Bajiu dare not treat the other person as a virtual character. Besides, it's not surprising that there are too many people here. Just call me the medicine boss, I thought you were going to be lying on the ground all the time. The medicine boss teased Liu Bajiu and then laughed, "Come and take shelter from the rain." When Liu Bajiu walked under the eaves, the medicine owner handed Liu Bajiu a piece of cloth and said, "Wipe it off, then change the clothes inside the package to avoid getting cold." "Thank you." Liu Bajiu took the cloth and wiped his head and face, then silently recited the package in his heart. A box with 40 squares appeared in Liu Bajiu's mind, one of which contained a set of apricot-colored cloth clothes, with a defense of 1.2 and a magic defense of 0.1. After silently putting it on, Liu Bajiu immediately completed a one-click dress change and transformed into a traditional costume, while the original clothes appeared in the package. Liu Bajiu looked at the package again and found that besides the clothes he had just changed, there were also 2 compartments with things inside. A peachwood sword, attack. 2.6, a bottle of Shaojin Chuang medicine that adds 20 points of health. Apart from this beginner's 3-piece set, there is nothing else, even the coin bar is showing 0, how stingy. Liu Bajiu couldn't help but make a noise. After thinking for a moment, Liu Bajiu once again arched his hand to the pharmacy owner and asked, "Is there anything I can help you with?" Liu Bajiu wants to see if there are any tasks to do. The pharmacy owner nodded and said, "The pharmacy needs herbs, but I can't leave. You can go collect some and sell them to me." After finishing speaking, the medicine boss nodded on Liu Bajiu's forehead and then handed him a small hoe. "You learn the art of collecting." Liu Bajiu's mind was filled with a lot of knowledge, including the names, shapes, and collection methods of various medicinal herbs. Liu Bajiu took the medicine hoe with a strange look in his eyes and said goodbye before leaving. Later, Liu Bajiu strolled around the village and learned the art of segmentation from the butcher. He obtained a segmentation knife and informed Liu Bajiu that there were too many rabbits and deer in the peach forest, which would damage it. He asked Liu Bajiu to eliminate some and collect some meat to bring back. Blacksmiths, timber merchants, and clothing store owners say that Liu Bajiu's level is not enough. After greeting the big sword guards at the village entrance, Liu Bajiu walked out with a peachwood sword in hand. Liu Bajiu did not go too far, after all, although this is a game space, it is too realistic, and Liu Bajiu does not have much wilderness survival experience, let alone this kind of monster-infested wilderness. In an unfamiliar environment, it's better to be frugal. Moreover, there are herbs, rabbits, and even spotted deer near the village. Especially there are quite a few rabbits. Seeing several rabbits jumping and eating grass not far away, Liu Bajiu eagerly rushed over with a peachwood sword in hand. The next second, I was stunned. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, This is Too Realistic. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3, This is Too Realistic. Watching the rabbits drilling and running, disappearing in an instant, Liu Bajiu couldn't help but feel a little sore. Sitting at work and lying in bed watching videos after work, Liu Bajiu, who rarely goes shopping in recent years, cannot catch up with the fleeing rabbit. After all, one of the words that describes speed is called, moving like a rabbit. The fresh air, the peach blossoms fluttering like sunset, and the peach with sword in hand all prove the truth of this world. But you're a rabbit who can run away and run so fast, isn't that a bit excessive? This game cannot be played happily at all. In his thoughts, a scarecrow appeared in the distance, wriggling and wandering. Liu Bajiu thought for a moment and ran over with a peach with sword in hand. Fortunately, the scarecrow didn't know how to run. After Liu Bajiu approached, he took the initiative to walk towards Liu Bajiu. After approaching the attack distance, Liu 891's sword struck the scarecrow's chest. 5 A damage number appeared on the scarecrow's head, and the health bar was also displayed. 95 out of 100. Just when Liu Bajiu thought it would take 20 strikes to kill the scarecrow, the second strike struck the scarecrow but only took 3 points of his health. The scarecrow turned sideways and swept his hand towards Liu Bajiu. Liu Bajiu quickly took a step back to avoid it, and then moved forward with a sword and struck at the scarecrow's hand. 23,456 appeared repeatedly on the scarecrow's head, leaving Liu Bajiu somewhat speechless. The damage was a bit low, and it took about 2 minutes for Liu Bajiu to clear the scarecrow's health. Fortunately, the scarecrow's reaction is very slow, otherwise Liu Bajiu wouldn't even know if he could have beaten it. After the scarecrow disappeared, Liu Bajiu, exhausted and panting, picked up the 2 gold coins that had fallen from the ground. Discovered item. Gold coins, can be taken out of the game space. Liu Bajiu's eyes lit up at first, but after seeing the appearance of the gold coin clearly, he was speechless for an instant. It is said to be gold coins, but this thing is actually blue, completely copper coins, and it is also about the same size as ancient copper coins. It reminds Liu Bajiu of ancient emperors rewarding ministers with tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of gold, which is indeed referring to copper coins. With a thought, 2 gold coins were received by Liu Bajiu into the package, and the gold coin column showed 2. A little is better than nothing. Liu Bajiu continued to walk outward. Since he couldn't catch the rabbit, let's fight monsters. Perhaps after upgrading, the attributes have improved, making it easier to fight rabbits. A scarecrow gave Liu 891 points of experience, while leveling up requires 1000 points of experience, which goes beyond the setting of the legendary world game. Based on this calculation, Liu Bajiu cannot be certain whether he will be able to advance by 1 level in the next 24 hours. However, as long as there is progress, the things in the game can be brought out, which gives Liu Bajiu great motivation. When Liu Bajiu saw another scarecrow and a stick dog holding a branch not far away, he excitedly rushed over. A sword struck the scarecrow's body, evading his side attack but failing to dodge the branch swung by the stick dog. There was a burning pain on Liu Bajiu's face, and a number of .3 appeared on his head. Taking a glance at his remaining 22 blood bars, Liu Bajiu turned around and ran away. I can't fight at all. Not to mention the real pain, Liu Bajiu didn't want to continue being beaten. Liu Bajiu wanted to run, but the stick dog chased after him without letting go. This thing is 1.23 meters tall, with a slender figure, a dog head, a tail at the back, and a layer of golden hair covering its entire body. It runs at a slow speed. At first, Liu Bajiu was able to win the race, but soon his speed slowed down. He lacked exercise and had already started to gasp for breath before running 30 meters. On the other hand, the speed of the stick dog is not slow at all. Looking back several times at the stick dog getting closer and closer to him, Liu Bajiu couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He stopped and turned around, gasped for breath a few times, and then approached the stick dog with his peachwood sword. If it's a big deal, just start over. It's just a game, and you won't really die. What's wrong with being chased by a little monster from the novice village? The most infuriating thing is that it still can't run away. Although you can see the mocking expression of the broadsword guard in the distance, it's still as far as 40 or 50 meters. Just now, with the beating of a drum like heartbeat, Liu Bajiu had no confidence that he had run past the stick dog. Besides, the expression on the sword guard's face also made Liu Bajiu lose face. The branch in the stick dog's hand is about 1.5 meters long, and it is just right to grip it with one hand. Many branches come out from behind, and the attack area is extremely wide, but the attack force is not too strong. It's just that scanning the exposed area is very painful, and there is not much sensation in areas covered by clothes, such as the shoulders. So Liu Bajiu collided directly with the stick dog. Although the stick dog let go of Liu Bajiu's impact, the branch in his hand was unable to attack Liu Bajiu. After all, the length of the branches is too long. Liu Bajiu saw the opportunity and stabbed the peachwood sword in the chest of the stick dog. 7. A damage number appears on the head of the stick dog. Liu Bajiu's eyes lit up and he kept stabbing the stick dog's chest with a peachwood sword. The stick dog also keeps showing damage numbers on its head. 5, 8, 9, for the speed of stabbing is much faster than chopping, and the attack strength is also greater than chopping. Liu Bajiu did not dare to stab the peachwood sword into the mouth of the stick dog, fearing that it would not hit. All the attacks were aimed at the chest of the stick dog, which had the largest area. The stick dog naturally counterattacked, but Liu Bajiu resisted hard and finally used the golden creation medicine inside the package. With only 5 points of health left, he won this battle. The stick dog lay on the ground, bursting out 5 gold coins and a gold necklace. The stick in its hand disappeared out of thin air like a scarecrow, but the body remained. After Liu Bajiu took a deep breath, he first picked up the gold coins and gold necklace. Get a gold necklace to take out of the game space. Gold necklace. Attack 0.1. After equipping, Liu Bajiu didn't feel much, maybe the slight increase in attack power wasn't significant. Looking at the body left by the stick dog, Liu Bajiu thought for a moment and equipped it with the small knife given by the butcher. He crouched down and used segmentation techniques against the stick dog. Get dog meat and take out the game space. Get dog skin and take out the game space. Dog meat. Quality 8 dog skin. Quality 6. Fortunately, using segmentation techniques does not really require manual segmentation of the body of the stick dog. Just squat down and use the small knife to activate the skill. Looking at the 2 items inside the package, Liu Bajiu showed a slight smile. As long as there were gains, especially things that could be taken out. The stick dog on the ground disappeared out of thin air, or rather was refreshed to be more accurate. Liu Bajiu looked at the scarecrow not far away and walked over with a peachwood sword in hand. Next, Liu Bajiu only searched for the lonely scarecrow to fight. After all, he no longer had the golden creation medicine on him. Unfortunately, it wasn't until the end of the 20.4-hour game that Liu Bajiu was able to level up, nor did he produce a single piece of equipment. Instead, he produced hundreds of coins. After returning to the village, Liu Bajiu silently withdrew, and the fluttering peach blossoms gradually became illusory. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Going Home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Going Home. Looking at the 2 private chat messages on the game interface of Legendary World on the computer screen in front of him, Liu Bajiu still felt a little uneasy. Many things do not leave no trace after being said to have passed, just like if an injury is too severe, the scar will also be very large. With a thought, a gold coin appeared in Liu Bajiu's hand, but he was thinking about when to visit that luxurious villa again. Just a simple look is also good. After exiting the game and clicking to remove the device, Liu Bajiu stood up and looked around. There aren't many people in the internet cafe, and the hall with 200 machines is only sparsely populated by 30.50 people. Looking at the time of 8.50, Liu Bajiu didn't know how long he had been in the game, mainly because he didn't notice the time when he entered the game space. From the perspective of no one paying attention to oneself, it seems that one has not disappeared for a long time, and even has not disappeared at all. Perhaps the 24 hours in the game space are just a moment for the outside world. Even there is no passing of time at all. Upon closer examination, it was meaningless. Liu Bajiu arrived at the front desk of the internet cafe with a temporary card receipt. Get off the machine. You spent a total of 2 yuan, so I'll give you 8 yuan. Welcome to visit again. The receptionist smiled as usual, and Liu Bajiu nodded with a smile, taking 8 yuan and leaving the internet cafe. Returning to the 6-person factory dormitory, there was no one present. Everyone was working overtime now, lying on an iron frame bed. Liu Bajiu silently entered the game space. It will take 24 hours to enter the game space. Although it would take 24 hours to re-enter the game space, Liu Bajiu breathed a sigh of relief and thought it would be great if he could re-enter. I took out my hand and looked at the train ticket again. It's not Chinese New Year or holiday now, and train tickets are easy to buy. 230.6 yuan, it takes 20.3 hours to sit. I will get on the bus tomorrow noon, get off at noon the day after tomorrow, have a meal, and then take the bus home. It's no problem to have dinner when I get home. After brushing his phone and waiting for the factory to finish work, Liu Bajiu called on some of his close friends and a few managers to go out for a late-night snack, which was considered a farewell before leaving. Guancheng. In the courtyard of a luxurious villa, semi-retired Li Minghua sat on a bamboo rocking chair, closing his eyes and recuperating. A sweet-looking and smiling 18.19-year-old girl walked over with a tray and placed a teacup on the stone table next to Li Minghua. "Grandpa, I'll run you some tea." Li Minghua nodded and opened his eyes to look at his granddaughter Li Bai sitting next to him. He sighed and asked, "I heard that your first choice is to fill the mountain city." Li Bai nodded and replied, "Amu tacitly agreed." "Why bother?" Li Minghua frowned and said, "With your grades, even Qingbei has a chance." "It's really not possible. I can still give you a chance to operate it. You know." Li Bai's eyes showed determination. "You mother and daughter are both people who cannot listen to advice." Li Minghua felt a bit helpless and thought for a moment before saying, "What if we find it? It has been so many years now, and people can change. 20 years can make a beautiful woman look old, or a man compromise with society and repeatedly lower his own limits. Especially for people at the bottom of society, they will be wasted by life and become completely different, even if it is not impossible. You should understand what Qingbei means compared to a 211 university. It will make your social circle different for a lifetime. Is it really worth it for an unknown outcome?" Li Bai smiled and said, "I have to personally verify the outcome before I know. If it's just an ordinary matter, it's fine. But for such an important matter, there should be a result. Otherwise, I won't be happy in my heart, and AMU won't be happy either. There is also no address, and it's not always possible to find someone or not." Li Minghua reminded. "Effort is also a result, as for whether we can find it or not, let's say we can't find fate." Li Minghua let out a long sigh and saw that he couldn't persuade Li Bai, so he said, "Okay, then go and see. If that kid hasn't gone bad and is still unmarried, then bring him back to see me. As long as it doesn't deteriorate, it's okay." Li Bai asked in surprise, "Don't expect any achievements." Li Minghua chuckled and said, "Achievement is so easy to achieve. It requires favorable timing, location, people, and one indispensable element. Compared to hard work and one's ability, luck is more important. If he really had any achievements, he might have come back long ago to find you mother and daughter. If he hasn't appeared yet, it already proves that he hasn't achieved anything remarkable. If he is still unmarried, it proves that he should still have your mother in his heart. After so many years of suffering, he has not yet made a compromise on life. His abilities, let alone his state of mind, should be good. At least many things can be seen through, and the mentality of coming back to watch your mother and daughter eat a soft meal should be able to calm down. Of course, this is the best outcome, and ultimately it depends on whether they are willing or not. I should be willing, otherwise I wouldn't have been single until now. Li Bai smiled and said, just agree, then I'll go to school. After leaving the villa, Li Bai thought for a moment and made a phone call. It's not that I don't want to get married, it's because I'm afraid of encountering the wrong person, causing me a lot of injustice, and I'll regret it for a lifetime. Even if I stay up until late marriage, I won't force the rest of my life. If there's no right person, I'll be single and carefree. After the phone rang for a while, it finally answered. Li Shishi's voice rang and he asked directly, what's up? It took so long to pick up, on a date? Li Bai asked with a smile. In a meeting, just let me know if you have anything to do. Hurry up. Grandpa promised me to take the major exam. Got it. The phone was hung up, and Li Bai looked at her phone and smiled, muttering to herself, on the surface, it seems calm, but in my heart, I don't know how excited it is. Everyone knows that a girl of 17 or 18 years old, even after her lover disappears, insists on giving birth to her partner's child and has been unmarried ever since. She hasn't even found a boyfriend, so she has to love her deeply. I am fortunate to have come into this world. I used to have no choice, but now I have a choice. Li Bai is willing to help his parents. The outcome is not important, but the outcome itself is very important. Not only do parents need a result, but they also need a result themselves. After getting into the car and starting the engine, Li Bai didn't drive away and looked at the sunny road ahead with a hopeful expression in her eyes. Changfang, what kind of place is that? What kind of person are you? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Centenarians. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Centenarians. After a day of fatigue, Liu Bajiu finally returned to his own town. Because I am not sure if myself, who entered the real world of the game space, will disappear, so even if I can enter the game space in 24 hours, Liu Bajiu did not enter the game space on the train. After all, even if it only disappeared for a second, it would be too shocking for someone to disappear out of thin air. Liu Bajiu didn't want to cause any sensation. If sensationalism does not bring benefits but may actually cause trouble, it is better to try to be low-key. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I had already missed the bus connecting every village. After all, there were not many people in the countryside now, and the bus only runs 2 times a day, divided into morning and afternoon. It was drizzling lightly in the sky, and the motorcycles that could be seen everywhere were nowhere to be seen, so I didn't want to trouble my family to pick them up. Liu Bajiu thought for a moment and decided to walk back. Anyway, it's only 3 kilometers from town to his home. When he was a child, he had to walk back and forth every day to school, and it only took him half an hour to walk faster. When he set off, Liu Bajiu didn't think much of it. After walking for a while, Liu Bajiu realized that the pot was made of iron. The suitcase was not heavy when dragged by wheels, and a small backpack weighed only 4 or 5 pounds. However, after Liu Bajiu walked about a kilometer, he found that both the suitcase and backpack had become a huge burden. Liu Bajiu, who was sweating profusely, found a large stone everywhere on the roadside and sat down to rest. After resting for a while, he felt a tingling pain in the soles behind his big toes, and both feet were in the same position. After taking off his shoes and socks, he realized that he had a blister on one side, which made Liu Bajiu feel a bit sore. It's been too long since I walked. Mom, I'm back. Liu Bajiu took out his phone and called his mother. It's already there, where is it? I'll have your dad pick you up. Here at the dam. Why are you at the dam? Wait, your dad will come to pick you up right away. Go and get your son back quickly. We've all reached the dam, there's only a little way left. Let him walk back on his own. Get out of here, you ghost. Hurry up and get your son back. If you don't move, believe it or not, the old lady will lift your card table. You won't even think about playing cards in the future. Listening to his mother's clamor and his father's stubbornness, Liu Bajiu hung up the phone. Father Liu Xinghua was an old son born to his grandfather when he was almost 40 years old. He was spoiled, so he was a thug when he was young. He didn't get married until he was in his 20s, and now he is in his 60s. My mother, Wang Lan, is only in her 50s because the age difference between the two is quite a few years. My father has been trying to tolerate my mother, which has made her more and more aggressive. However, it happened to restrain my father. Not long after, Liu Xinghua appeared in front of Liu Bajiu in a tricycle. As he approached, he looked at Liu Bajiu with some disdain and shouted, "Get in the car. The couple is the true love, I am just an accident." With a sigh in his heart, Liu Bajiu put his suitcase and backpack into the car body, and squatted inside the body. Although it was just a tricycle, the co-pilot could only sit with his mother. "Go to Grandpa's house first. Go home first, you have to wait until you get home," Liu Xinghua said unwillingly. "Just send me over, I won't delay you playing cards." "Okay." Grandpa Liu Yuanzu happens to be 100 years old this year, with 2 months left for his birthday. His eldest son is already over 80 years old. At the age of 16, they got married and also married 2 daughters-in-law. After liberation, they both passed away one after another. In their 30s, they took Su Xian, also known as Liu Bajiu's biological grandmother. They had been married for more than 10 years, and Liu Bajiu's biological grandmother also passed away. At that time, the old man was only in his 50s and wanted to continue playing, but his children refused and no one was willing to marry him. He said he would cheat his wife. His 3 daughters-in-law gave birth to 20.2 children and lived 20 of them, including 16 sons and 4 daughters. Liu Xinghua was the youngest. The big ones live around the old man, while the smallest Liu Bajiu family is a bit far away, about a kilometer away. In no time, the tricycle arrived at Lujiawan. After Liu Bajiu got off the car and picked up his backpack, Liu Xinghua drove the tricycle without getting off, let alone going to see the old man. Liu Yuanzu was originally the only family in Lujiawan, but now hundreds of houses have been built around the old house. Basically, they are all built very well, which proves that people like Liu Jiawan still make money. Relatively speaking, the conditions in Liu Xinghua are much worse. Especially Liu Bajiu is not up to par, he still doesn't even have a wife. So every time Liu Xinghua, a high-ranking and low-skilled relative, comes to Liu Jiawan, he is the object of their jokes. Some are just joking, while others are really making fun of him. Now Liu Xinghua is not willing to come to Liu Jiawan, even though the old man has always liked this old son. Not only does he give good cigarettes and wine every time he comes, but sometimes he even gives pocket money, such as 3, 5, and a few hundred yuan. Oh, the money seeker has returned. Huh, isn't this our Uncle 89? 8 or 9 dukes. Come and meet your 89 ancestors. Xiao Bajiu has returned. Uncle 89. 8 or 9 dukes. 8 or 9 ancestors. Various voices rang out, including greeting, joking, and teasing. The Liu family has been passed down to the present day for 6 generations. Uncle Liu Bajiu is 83 years old, his eldest brother is 65, his eldest nephew is 46, and his eldest grandson is 25. Listening to a few little brats calling themselves the 8-9 ancestors, Liu 8-9 didn't know how to agree. Mainly because I don't have any red envelopes, no money, and don't speak hard. It's not easy to be an old person. Well, I'm back. Hello everyone, I'll come down to your house and have a drink with you another day. Continuously nodding and smiling in response, Liu Bajiu fled to the middle of the village. Unlike other 2-story and 3-story villa buildings, there is only a small courtyard in the middle of the village, which is still a earthen wall tiled house. The only difference is that the earthen walls have been painted with cement and white ash, and the previous small green tiles have been replaced with the current glass tiles. Squeak. Liu Bajiu pushed open the door and saw an old man in a blue cloth long shirt lying on a rocking chair, swaying with one hand shaking a fan and the other touching a snow-white goatee, appearing very leisurely, without even a person beside him. "Isn't it that you're not in good health?" Lu Yuanzu stood up straight and saw that it was Liu Bajiu. He immediately waved happily and shouted, "My little grandson is back. Hurry up, come over quickly, let Grandpa take a good look. It's been many years since he came back. I miss Grandpa so much." Liu Bajiu felt relieved in his heart, his furrowed brow relaxed, and he walked a few steps to the table and sat down on his own. He smiled and said, "Did you join forces with my mother to deceive me?" The old man didn't have so many rules, at least he was very casual with Liu Bajiu's father and son. After carefully examining Liu Bajiu, he picked up the Chongjiu from the table and handed it to Liu Bajiu. The old man is not afraid of smoking and drinking. After lighting his cigarette and taking a sip, he happily said, "It's time to come back too. I've told you before that my ancestors gave me a decree, saying that I can live together for 10 generations, and at the age of 100, there will be a great fortune. It's only 2 months until then. How can you not come back, my dear grandson? So you always let your eldest wife and grandson get married early. New book release, seeking recommendations, collections, investments, and all kinds of requests. Thank you all for your support." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Fate. Do you believe that you have already calculated someone's life for yourself? Listening to the old man say that he had good luck at the age of 100, Liu Bajiu felt a bit toothache. Liu Jiazu is considered a member of the Taoist sect. He knows everything about feng shui, methods, fortune-telling, and drawing talismans to treat illnesses. Whether he is proficient or not, let's not say. After all, in his hometown, this area is quite affordable, and everyone believes it. Liu Yuanzu also made a living from this. A long time ago, his business was very good, and the longer he lived, the better his business naturally became. Therefore, the old man always lived alone and did not need anyone to take care of him or give him money. During the Chinese New Year, he could also give each descendant a red envelope. Liu Bajiu has also studied fortune-telling, and Xiangshu is not accurate at all. Rather than being related to physiognomy, psychology and statistics are more appropriate. Firstly, there are only a few fortune-tellers, and secondly, most people seek nothing more than a few things, such as health, career, marriage, money, etc. After a series of clichés, you can basically understand the general situation of the other party, and then determine what the other party is like based on their speech. It is easy to deduce the general development of what the other party is seeking. Finally, give some persuasion, encouragement, and comfort, say something nice, and the business will be considered successful. Why don't you believe it? Liu Yuanzu said with a proud expression, "Don't just keep this courtyard house, but also feed such a big family. Isn't it also the foundation I laid when your uncle and his family can have what they are today?" The internal corruption of the previous dynasty was unpopular, and even knowledgeable people could see it. Does this still need to be counted? Liu Bajiu smiled and said, "Moreover, when you joined the party, it was arranged by your ancestors. The reason is that Bo Gong and his companions were all officials in the previous dynasty. You were able to make contributions by relying on the news they gave you. I have heard of all of this." The old man spat out a cigarette ring and said leisurely, "Believe it or not, that's it. There must be hope in life, and only in relative life can there be hope. So, people, they just live with hope." Liu Bajiu couldn't help but nod, arguing whether to believe it or not was meaningless anymore. People do need hope to live, especially the old man, who is so old, needs a hope. Liu Bajiu couldn't help but feel a little guilty. He shouldn't argue with the old man about this. Although good advice may be beneficial to action, it ultimately goes against the ear, and whether something is right or not cannot be seen only on the surface. Moreover, the right and wrong of many things still need to be judged over time. What is wrong now may not necessarily be wrong in the future, and what is right now may not necessarily be right again in the future. Even many things themselves are not right or wrong. What was going on with you in Dongguan back then? The old man changed the topic. Your parents are not very clear either. They only know that for the sake of a girl, they used to see you always bitter and bitter, and it was not easy to ask in detail. This time, I saw that your eyebrows and eyes have relaxed a lot, even the Zhanzi sword in the center of your eyebrows has faded a bit. I think you have opened up a lot. Can you talk about it now, Zhanzi sword? Liu Bajiu asked curiously. It's the vertical line on the center of the eyebrow, which is called the Zhanzi sword, in Xiangshu. It's difficult for someone with the Zhanzi sword to have descendants, but I've given you my life before. You're not a person without a future. Lu Yuanzu explained. Children. To have children, one must first have a daughter. Law. Thinking about the girl who always likes to wear white clothes, Liu Bajiu couldn't help but sigh. After some thought, Liu Bajiu still told the old man about what happened 20 years ago, especially Li Minghua's words, which he said without missing a word. You have been planted with a heart demon by someone else. Lu Yuanzu sighed leisurely. Heart demon. Liu Bajiu frowned and asked. Of course it's a heart demon. What do you think a heart demon is? The old man smiled and said, the so-called heart demon is just obsession. The deeper and longer the influence, the more powerful the heart demon becomes. Of course, a mind demon can also play a role in honing a person's inner self. The stronger the mind demon, the more it can hone a person's mood. After being trapped for 20 years, I think many things can be seen very thoroughly, which is actually very beneficial. In the future, no matter what happens, I can make very good choices. It may not be the best choice for you, but it will definitely be the choice that you least regret. Only with a strong state of mind can one achieve success, be liberated, and feel at ease. Liu Bajiu couldn't help but give a bitter smile. If he wanted to be at ease, he had to let go, but Liu Bajiu knew his own situation and still couldn't let go. Let me cook for you and have a drink with you later. Do you have any dishes at home? No need, take a break. Just eat the ready-made food later. Liu Yuanzu shook his head and smiled. That little guy from Yunchuan has set up a food account. He comes to my place every day to make things for me to eat, and they are all delicious. Yunchuan Liu Bajiu can't even remember which one it is. Seeing a puzzled expression on Liu Bajiu's face, Liu Yuanzu explained, your eldest grandson from Big Brother's family always liked to steal oranges from your house when he was a child. By the way, your grandchildren, sons are all 4 or 5 years old. Your son is already 30.6 years old this year. Shouldn't he also consider becoming a family? After listening to the old man's explanation, Liu Bajiu recalled it for a while before gaining an impression. In fact, Liu Yuanzu of the Liu family had a generation of 20 people, of which 16 brothers survived and established their own families and careers. The generation of Liu Bajiu consisted of 80.9 people. Although they were all only children in the future, the number of people in each generation did not increase much, but the sum of men, women of all ages was also several hundred. Many people have an impression that Liu Bajiu cannot keep up with his familiarity, and he has rarely been at home in the past 10 or 20 years, let alone remembering so much. However, for Liu Yunchuan, he really remembers that besides the kid who liked to steal fruits such as oranges and plums from his own house since he was 3 years old, he was mainly the eldest son and grandson of the eldest family. Having many descendants is actually not enough to take care of. Besides favoring Liu Bajiu's father and son, Liu Yuanzu also likes the eldest sons and grandsons of his long family the most. Since someone is cooking for you, I'll go back first and come over to see you another day. Liu Bajiu smiled. Liu Yuanzu nodded and said, all right, I know you're not comfortable with them. Just come back and take a break. I'll have Yunchuan drive you back. It's not easy to climb up the slope of your house. Liu Bajiu originally wanted to refuse mainly because he didn't want to trouble others, but he nodded because he wanted to be joked about by many people when he left. Family members, welcome to the Yunchuan Food live broadcast room. My Gaozu family is right in front of me. I'm secretly telling you that there are new customers at my Gaozu family today. Can you guess who it is? A man's voice came from outside the door. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Changfang Changsun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Changfang Changsun. A young man, who was over 1.8 meters tall, handsome in appearance, and dressed neatly, carrying ingredients such as carp and pork ribs, pushed open the door and walked in. Behind the young man was a woman holding a camera, followed by two young men aged 4 or 5. Hello Gaozu. The young man and the woman spoke at the same time. The two little brats also politely shouted, "Hello, heavenly ancestor." The old man nodded and said to the young man, "Let Shuyun record it first. Yunchuan, go and drive the car over. I'll take you back to rest, Lord Bajiu." "Hello, Lord Bajiu." Liu Yunchuan smiled happily at Liu Bajiu and then said to his two sons, "Say hello to your Bajiu ancestors. Your Bajiu ancestors have just returned, this is our first time meeting." Liu Yunchuan's tone was somewhat teasing. This 8 or 9-year-old duke was only about 10 years older than him, and he didn't give up on him when he was a child. "Hello, Ancestor Bajiu." The two little brats looked at Liu Bajiu and Liu Yunchuan with an expectant expression on their faces. They naturally understood what Liu Yunchuan said. This was the first time, and those who were ancestors didn't want to be interested. At this moment, there were many surprised speeches in Liu Yunchuan's live broadcast room, all asking who Liu Bajiu was and whether he was the grandson of the old man. Liu Yunchuan said in a timely manner, "Of course, it's my great-grandfather's biological grandson, but the youngest grandson. For me, it's not my biological 89th grandfather anymore, but it's also my uncle's grandfather. That's to say, my grandfather's father and his father are biological brothers, across the sea. Brothers across the sea are not from the same mother, and brothers across the mountain are not from the same father." Liu Yunchuan kept explaining to the live broadcast room. Liu Bajiu looked at the two little brats and asked, "It's only 20 yuan in change. Do you want it?" The larger one immediately raised his hand and showed Liu Bajiu the phone watch on his hand. "My phone watch can scan the code," he said. "Mine too," the little one quickly followed suit. "If you want a red envelope, would you like to introduce yourself first? Otherwise, I know who you are, ancestor." Liu Bajiu asked. "My brother's name is Liu Pingping, I am 5 years old this year. My younger brother's name is Liu Anan, I'm 4 years old this year." The two little ones are not afraid of childbirth at all. In this era, nutrition is more abundant, and children not only grow taller, but also have faster and better brain development. Many small and medium-sized things are very eloquent. The old man kept watching with joy, and when he saw Liu Bajiu starting to pick up his phone and prepare to send red envelopes, he handed a stack of money to Liu Bajiu from under the table. Feeling his knee touched, Liu Bajiu looked at the old man in surprise and silently accepted the money. He touched the thickness, which should be around 10,000 yuan. Their small actions avoided the people on site, but were seen by some people in the live broadcast room who saw them and told Liu Yunchuan and Wu Shiyun, and then they all shouted, "Eccentricity." Wu Shiyun just smiled. The Liu family's mansion was not short of money, especially a few eldest sons and grandchildren. The first generation of department-level officials retired, the second generation of deputy department-level officials retired, and the third generation of department-level officials. The fourth generation, Liu Yunchuan, started a real estate company at the age of 18, with assets exceeding 100 million in 2 to 3 years, and then quickly retreated. Now, he can earn 108,000 yuan in just 1 month by doing live streaming. After all, food programs featuring centenarians living together for 6 generations are still very gimmicky, and many people enjoy watching them. Most of the other people in Changfang also work in politics and business, and at the very least, they can become project managers or contractors. The old man often gives money to the father and son of the 16 houses, which is well known to everyone. However, the money he gives is not very much, and everyone doesn't care much. Of course, the old man's attitude makes everyone feel uncomfortable, which is certain. Liu Yunchuan tugged at the corner of his mouth without speaking, typing and answering, indeed biased, but you can't say it, otherwise the old man won't be happy. After Liu Bajiu put the money in his pocket, he casually pinched more than 10 pieces, cooked 8 pieces, and handed them to Liu Pingping, saying, 2 pieces per person. Only 2. Liu Pingping pursed his lips, somewhat disappointed. Just give me 2. If I give you too many, my doorstep will be broken tomorrow. If I give you 10 or 8, I'm afraid the house won't be demolished enough tomorrow. Liu Bajiu smiled. How many hundred members of the Liu family? What does it mean? Liu Anan asked in confusion. Liu Yunchuan smiled and said, 8-9 gong, give us a few more pictures. We promise not to reveal them. Liu Bajiu gave Liu Yunchuan a sidelong glance and said, promise me, I don't even know about you, kid. I'm afraid it might be before dark that you can spread the word to everyone in Lujiawan. The live broadcast room immediately burst into laughter. In the hearts of these 8 or 9 nobles, Yunchuan is not a good person. Speaking of which, I have never seen this 8-9 gong before. I just mentioned it once or twice when Yunchuan introduced his family, saying that he rarely comes back even after working outside for 20 years. This impression only lingers in his childhood. How mischievous Chuan was when he was young. The two of them seem to have a similar age difference, maybe they used to fight a lot when they were young, right? There was a commotion in the live broadcast room, and Wu Xiuyun also occasionally smiled, which made Liu Yunchuan feel a bit embarrassed. He wanted to say something, but saw that Liu Bajiu had already started bidding farewell to Liu Yuanzu with his backpack. I'll go back first and come see you tomorrow. Liu Yuanzu smiled and said, no need, wake up early tomorrow and accompany me to the market to set up a stall. Are you still setting up a stall? Liu Bajiu asked in surprise. Of course, why not set up a stall to eat? The old man laughed. Okay, I'll come over tomorrow. Liu Bajiu nodded with a smile, but did not advise the old man not to set up a stall. Eating and using something is just a joke. A centenarian has no health problems, so how much money can he use? Setting up a stall and fortune-telling is just a hobby. After all, it's only 9 rounds a month, so it's not hard to say it's just exercise. After Liu Yunchuan followed Liu Bajiu out, Wu Xiuyun handed over the 2 little guys to the old man to watch, and he himself followed out with a camera and sat in the passenger seat to continue filming. Because the audience in the live broadcast room seems to be quite interested in this August 9th anniversary, and the live broadcast room does need some fresh content for adjustment. Liu Bajiu sat in the boss's seat at the back, while Liu Yunchuan sat in the driver's cab and started the car slowly driving towards the outside. The houses in Lujiawan are built very compactly, and many families don't even have a dam. The houses are built on the roadside, and cars dare not drive fast at all. After all, chickens, ducks, dogs, and even children run out from time to time. Liu Yunchuan thought for a moment and said, Duke Juba, don't go out this time when you come back. Now that your family can earn money, there's really no need to continue working outside. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Everything Goes with the Wind. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Everything Goes with the Wind. Why, do you think it's embarrassing for me to work outside? Liu Bajiu asked with a smile. Not only does the Liu family have Liu Yuanzu, a centenarian, but the wealthy family can also be considered wealthy in the local area. Others can also be considered wealthy, but the 16-member family lives in a state of anxiety. Liu Bajiu really embarrasses the Liu family. However, it was evident that Liu Yunchuan's persuasive tone was sincere, and Liu Bajiu's words were actually just a joke. It's not embarrassing, even those who should give me face don't care about these things. Those who don't give me face don't need to care. Liu Yunchuan gestured to Wu Xiuyun to close the live broadcast room, then sighed and said to Liu Bajiu. In the past, there was no other way, as policies were biased towards coastal cities. Although our family was relatively good in the local area, it was just good. Plus, we had a lot of family and couldn't take care of it. In recent years, policies have shifted towards internal circulation. As a strategic rear area, Changfang has received significant support, and there are now many opportunities in our hometown. Even if real estate doesn't work out, there are still various infrastructure projects. Rural areas have sunk a lot of funds for road construction, land reform, agricultural support, and so on. It's okay to do whatever you want when you come back, not to mention being wealthy. There's no problem with 300,000 to 500,000 a year. Uncle Liu Bajiu did not give his father a chance before, but Liu Xinghua did not cherish the opportunity. Being talked about too much actually led to a rebellious mentality. Liu Xinghua's decision not to go to Lujiawan is not only for fear of being ridiculed, but also for his guilt towards his elder brother. However, people all want face, and even if they know they have been wrong before, it is difficult to admit it. Liu Bajiu nodded and smiled. I really don't plan to go out this time when I come back. As for what I will do specifically, let's see. Liu Bajiu's family lives halfway up the mountain, which used to be a collective firewood mountain, mainly because in those years when houses were built, everyone spontaneously did not occupy farmland. The so-called Chaishan refers to a mountain with a steep slope that is not suitable for cultivation, where miscellaneous trees are planted for firewood. Generally, Changfang trees are planted, and they are cut after October in the lunar calendar. In the second year, new branches will grow and grow taller than humans. In the past, there was some land cultivated on the mountain. In recent years, many people abandoned it, and there were no people planting it in the flat and paddy fields, let alone in the mountains. The entire small mountain was lush and covered with various miscellaneous trees, some of which had not been cut down for 20 years, making it seem like the Liu Bajiu family had occupied a mountain. Speaking of mountains, hills are more appropriate. The height of the mountain where Liu Bajiu's family is located is only about 20 meters, and it may cover an area of more than 10 acres. Even with the extension of the forest in recent years, the total area does not exceed 15 acres. The car meandered upwards, and Liu Bajiu looked at the scenery outside the window. After thinking for a moment, he said to Liu Yunchuan, "Can you help me take over this hill?" There must be a solution. Although Chaishan involves many people, it's actually a good thing for the village to have someone take over the difficult-to-utilize place like this. Liu Yunchuan paused for a moment and continued, however, the overcapacity of various agricultural products is very serious now. It is difficult to sell both fruits and livestock, and it is difficult to make money from investing in agriculture. If you really want to engage in agriculture, it is better to do land reform. How to carry out land reform? Liu Bajiu asked. Our land reform here is to convert small fields into large fields suitable for machine farming, which is mainly aimed at the policy of large-scale abandonment caused by the shortage of rural labor in recent years. Usually, in a village, a relatively flat area is selected first, and the number of suitable fields for machine farming, water reservoirs, machine farming roads, drainage pipes, etc. are delineated according to the Mu rule. Then, a budget is submitted for approval. There are many ways to operate large-scale equipment such as engineering bidding, engineering contracting, excavators, and concrete materials. You can do engineering contracting. If you really want to do it, I will explain it in detail to you later. Liu Yunchuan finally sighed and said, "Make money, you have to follow the trend, and the trend lies in the country. It's best to make money by following policies." The car has parked on Liu Bajiu's dam. I'm back. Liu Mama welcomed Liu Bajiu with some excitement. She grabbed Liu Bajiu's bag and pounded Liu Bajiu's shoulder hard before saying to Liu Yunchuan, Yunchuan and Xiuyun are here. Come in and have tea, wait for dinner. No, thank you, Ancestor. Ancestor is still waiting for me to go back and cook. Liu Yunchuan laughed and said, I need to go back first. Come back another day. Wan Lan is very kind to Liu Yunchuan, the eldest son and grandson of this big family. She has always liked him very much since childhood, and of course, it can also be said to be pleasing. When Liu Yunchuan was young, he was taken care of by Liu Bajiu. Wan Lan would always protect Liu Yunchuan, so Liu Yunchuan has always respected Wan Lan as his ancestor. Huh, that's right too. We can't let the old man go hungry, then our ancestors won't keep you. Wan Lan laughed. Liu Yunchuan finally said to Liu Bajiu, think carefully. Liu Bajiu nodded and leaned down to pat Liu Yunchuan on the shoulder. He smiled and said, it's great. You already have the demeanor and vision that an eldest son and grandson should have. Hee, thank you to Juba Gong for keeping an eye on it. This kid. Liu Bajiu smiled and shook his head as he watched the car leave. My son is back, hurry up and get back to eat. Don't let me pick you up with a pole. Liu Mama put down the phone and said to Liu Bajiu with some dissatisfaction, have you resigned, kid? It's okay if you don't resign. Anyway, you're not allowed to go to the south anymore. When you come back, take a good rest, think about what to do, or learn a craft first, okay? Liu Bajiu smiled and nodded. Really? Liu Mama almost thought she had heard wrong. Seeing Liu Bajiu nod again, she immediately became happy and happily pulled Liu Bajiu, saying, let's go in and eat. Looking at the white hair on his mother's head, Liu Bajiu was moved but also felt a little guilty. His parents are both old now. Entering the house to help tidy up the table and prepare the dishes, Liu Xinghua also returned. Upon learning that Liu Bajiu was willing to stay at home, Liu's father's attitude improved significantly. The day after the beginning of summer is long, and it is already 7 o'clock after dinner. However, the sun is still very bright, and there is even a hint of heat outside. It should be noted that it is only just the beginning of summer now, and it is unknown whether there will be the same high temperature as last year this year. There is not much nightlife in the countryside, let alone the Liu Bajiu family who live halfway up the mountain, without even a talking neighbor. Liu Bajiu didn't go out for a stroll either. After taking a shower, he returned to his room. After thinking for a moment, Liu Bajiu first aimed his phone at the bed and set it to recording mode, then lay in bed and silently entered the game. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Wumu Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Wumu's Sword. The transition from illusion to reality is just a matter of the blink of an eye. Even though it was already his second time entering the game space, Liu Bajiu still felt surprised and shocked as he watched the scene of peach blossom petals fluttering like sunset in front of him. Taking a deep breath of the air with the fragrance of flowers, Liu Bajiu arrived at the pharmacy. I picked some herbs again. 23 plants, a total of 115 gold coins. The medicine owner took away the herbs from Liu Bajiu's backpack, and the corresponding Liu Bajiu gold coin column added more than 100 gold coins. Although it only costs one herb, Liu Bajiu still thinks it's very cost-effective. After all, it's difficult to earn gold coins here, and on average, a scarecrow can't pay back one gold coin. Collecting herbs is much easier and faster than killing scarecrows. As for the equipment, it's even harder to get it out. Liu Bajiu just killed the stick dog and exploded a gold necklace, while he never got any other equipment. Gold coins are difficult to earn, but there are many places to spend gold coins. Liu Bajiu first bought 2 small gold innovative medicines and spent 100 gold coins. He ordered a meal and then spent another 100 gold coins. There is no restaurant here, but we need to eat. Fortunately, All shops can book meals and eat with the boss, all for 100 gold coins per meal. After eating several different shops, Liu Bajiu ultimately chose to eat at the pharmacy owner's place, which was done meticulously. After ordering, Liu Bajiu brought 2 bottles of Changfang medicine to prevent accidents and walked out of the village with a peachwood sword in hand. There are still over 100 points of experience to upgrade, and Liu Bajiu looks forward to the improvement after the upgrade. After leaving the village for more than 10 meters, he saw rabbits. Liu Bajiu took a glance and thought he didn't see them, but he couldn't catch up with them anyway. After leaving the village for over 50 meters, I saw a spotted deer, but I couldn't catch up and could only sigh at the deer. After leaving the village for 100 meters, the peach trees became sparse and began to appear as shrubs and miscellaneous trees. Liu Bajiu watched as groups of scarecrows, stick dogs, knife dogs, and fish people gathered in the distance. In the bushes, there were even monsters such as pythons, poisonous spiders, and carnivorous flowers appearing faintly, so he silently retreated. There are also scarecrows, stick dogs, and other monsters on the outskirts of Taolin, and their numbers are not many. They rarely gather in groups. As long as you are careful, safety is still relatively guaranteed. Whether it's legendary world or legendary world, when you die, you will only lose equipment and not level. However, although this is a legendary world game, it is not exactly the same as legendary world games. Liu Bajiu dare not gamble, let alone the real pain. The feeling of dying once is probably not good, and whether he can be resurrected after death is a question. If there is only one life, then it is completely ruined. So Liu Bajiu was very cautious. Except for the scarecrow, all the other monsters would leave as soon as they saw it. If more than 2 scarecrows gathered together, they would not provoke anyone. After spending more than 2 hours, accompanied by a flash of golden light, Liu Bajiu finally rose to the first level. A warm current flowed through his body, sweeping away Liu Bajiu's fatigue, and even his mental state became much clearer. Grasping his fist, Liu Bajiu felt that his strength had greatly improved. The upgrade feels great. After muttering to himself, Liu Bajiu walked towards the scarecrow in the distance with a peachwood sword. Bang bang bang. 8, 9. 5 Liu Bajiu slashed the scarecrow 3 times in a row at an extremely fast speed. The scarecrow drops over 20% of his health. After upgrading, even the attack power has significantly increased. Avoiding the arm swung by the scarecrow on his side, Liu Bajiu struck the scarecrow several times. In less than 10 seconds, the scarecrow's health cleared and disappeared in place, leaving 3 gold coins on the ground. The explosion rate is still as touching as ever, and it's not as cost-effective as picking herbs. Unfortunately, picking herbs does not increase experience points. Although the scarecrow only has a little experience point, it can still be upgraded. A stick dog was wandering not far away. Liu Bajiu thought for a moment and walked over with his peach and wood sword. As he was about to approach the stick dog, Liu Bajiu quickly accelerated his speed and approached it, then quickly stabbed it with his peach and wood sword. 10 seconds later, the stick dog collapsed and exploded 5 gold coins, giving Liu Bajiu 2 experience points. After looking at the experience points required to advance to level 2, it was 2,000 points. Although it doubled, Liu Bajiu is confident that he can be promoted within today. Using segmentation techniques, a piece of dog meat with a quality of 7 was obtained. Last time, the butcher of the high-quality dog meat was willing to offer 64 gold coins to purchase it, but Liu Bajiu did not sell it. He had originally planned to bring it back to reality to cook, but unfortunately did not have the opportunity. But now it's not necessary to easily defeat the stick dog. After all, the package only has 40 grids, and herbs can be stacked in 1 grid, but dog meat is not enough. Unfortunately, this stick dog did not drop any equipment. Liu Bajiu also lost 9 points of health when dealing with the stick dog. Looking at his remaining 26 points of health, Liu Bajiu went to fight several individual scarecrows. After his health recovered to 35 points, he continued to fight another stick dog. It was almost noon when Liu Bajiu filled his backpack with dog meat and started fighting monsters between the stick dog and the scarecrow. Looking at the experience bar with about 300 experience points, Liu Bajiu nodded in satisfaction and then walked back to the village towards the pharmacy. After having lunch at the pharmacy and booking dinner, Liu Bajiu went to the butcher and sold all the dog meat, earning about 2,000 gold coins, which was originally 500 or 600. After repairing equipment at jewelry stores, weapon stores, and clothing stores, there are still over 1,000 gold coins left. What a money needle picking soil, spending money washing sand with water. With upgraded power support, Liu Bajiu repaired his equipment and left the village. Not long after leaving the village entrance, Liu Bajiu met a stick dog and clenched the peachwood sword in his hand. Liu Bajiu immediately rushed over. After approaching the stick dog at lightning speed, he stabbed the stick dog twice in a row. 5 Looking at such a low damage number, Liu Bajiu couldn't help but be taken aback and then didn't pay attention. He thought you were unlucky enough to hit the lower limit of damage and endured the claws of the stick dog, continuing to thrust towards its chest. 6, 4, 5, 3 The first two damage numbers are the attacks received by Liu Bajiu, while the last two damage numbers are the ones that emerge from the head of the stick dog. Liu Bajiu couldn't help but be surprised. When he was caught by a stick dog earlier, his health dropped below 5 points, and his attack speed was not as fast. After exchanging damage several times, Liu Bajiu had to use a bottle of golden creation medicine. Seeing that the stick dog still had 30% health left, Liu Bajiu held back and did not escape. After using the last bottle of golden creation medicine, the stick dog collapsed. Liu Bajiu was also tired and panting heavily. The branch in the stick dog's hand disappeared, and a black wooden sword appeared next to the body. Liu Bajiu quickly picked it up. Wumu's sword can bring out game space attacks 4.9 magic 1.2 Taoism 1.2 persistent 5.9 Liu Bajiu doesn't know the level of this attribute here, but in the Legend World game, the ebony sword definitely doesn't have such high attributes. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Moonlight Ascension. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Moonlight Ascension. The attributes of the ebony sword are much better than those of the peachwood sword, no wonder this stick dog is so strong. Is it an elite monster? Liu Bajiu used segmentation to obtain a piece of dog meat with a quality of 20 and a piece of dog skin with a quality of 15. It seems that it is undoubtedly an elite monster. This surprised Liu Bajiu and made him even more cautious. Elite monsters can produce good things, but it also means risks. The attack power of the Wumu sword has been improved on equipment, making it easier to defeat monsters. The scarecrow can basically explode with a few consecutive attacks in one round, and even an ordinary stick dog can kill them in less than 10 seconds. Liu Bajiu no longer needs to specifically search for lonely monster brushes, even a few scarecrows and a stick dog can go straight up. This greatly improved Liu Bajiu's upgrade efficiency, and he was promoted to level 2 after finishing his meal. Level 3 requires 3,000 experience points, which made Liu Bajiu breathe a sigh of relief. It's not just about doubling or 4,000 points, flat flipping is much easier than double flipping. The explosion rate of equipment is still extremely low. Throughout the afternoon, Liu Bajiu brushed over 1,000 scarecrows and hundreds of stick dogs, only to explode a copper ring. What made Liu Bajiu frustrated was that he couldn't wear it yet. Copper ring. Level requirement 3, attack power 0.1, endurance 5, weight 1. The character's equipment includes weapons, helmets, clothes, shoes, belts, necklaces, 2 bracelets, and 2 rings, each consisting of 10 pieces. But Liu Bajiu now only has weapons, clothes, necklaces, and a ring that cannot be equipped temporarily, not to mention the quality, and even the quantity cannot make up half. Fortunately, Liu Bajiu is not in a hurry either. So far, Liu Bajiu has not encountered any other players, and his unique game is slowly evolving. Without comparison, there is no damage. After dinner, Liu Bajiu bought 2 Jin Chuang medicines as a backup, and then spent 200 gold coins at the grocery store to buy a bundle of 12 candles. Equipped with candles, they can illuminate an area of 100 square meters. Be careful, they are enough to brush monsters. Liu Bajiu also bought 5 portions of dry rations worth 50 gold coins, and it's unbearable not to replenish them for such a long time at night. The appearance of the dry food in the grocery store is like a big pancake, and the taste is indescribable, similar to chewing sawdust. Eating it does not affect the recovery of energy and hunger. Equipping himself with candles, Liu Bajiu walked out of the village with his ebony sword in hand. The first monster encountered was the scarecrow. Liu Bajiu quickly approached and used his ebony sword to stab the scarecrow in the chest several times in a row. 15, 16, 18 in one round of attack, the scarecrow's health bar was cleared halfway, and he dodged the scarecrow's sweeping sideways. After several stabs, the scarecrow immediately dispersed and disappeared in place. Although it's not yet possible to kill the scarecrow in seconds, it doesn't waste much time. The ebony sword is much more convenient to use than the peachwood sword. Moreover, with the increased attack power of the Wumu sword, Liu Bajiu no longer needs to specifically search for lonely scarecrows and stick dogs. With the density of monsters in the peach blossom forest, he can easily push past them. No need to avoid gathering monsters, which saved Liu Bajiu a lot of time. The first half of the night passed, and Liu Bajiu was promoted to level 3, but unfortunately, not a single piece of equipment was released. Eat dry food and continue to fight. Upgrading to level 4 requires 4,000 experience points. When a bright color appeared in the sky, a golden light flashed by, and Liu Bajiu rose to level 4. This time, I was lucky enough to meet an elite scarecrow. Not only did I reveal 50 gold coins and a bottle of small gold medicine, but I also revealed a copper ring to Liu Bajiu. Copper ring attack. 0.1 durable. 5 weight. 1 level requirement. 3 it's just enough to be equipped. As for the last 6 or 7 hours of the night, no equipment was exposed. Liu Bajiu was a bit skeptical whether his face was too dark, but unfortunately there were no other players and no reference point. With over an hour left in the game, Liu Bajiu's condition was not very good either. Not only was he hungry, but he also couldn't lift his spirits. Just as Liu Bajiu was about to return to the village to repair some equipment, and then quit the game after having breakfast, a chubby knife dog wandered over. The height of the knife dog is similar to that of the stick dog, which is only about 1.23 meters. However, compared to the slender and malnourished body of the stick dog, the knife dog is much fatter, with a waist circumference of at least 3 or 4 times that of the stick dog, and holding a sickle like a rural millet in his hand. Thinking that the first stick dog had burst a gold necklace, Liu Bajiu immediately became interested and rushed over with his ebony sword. Anyway, it was just a knife dog. Liu Bajiu felt that he was in a state of full health, and with 2 bottles of gold medicine in his backpack, there should be no problem. The attack distance of the Wumu sword is much longer than that of the sickle, so when Liu Bajiu stabbed the knife dog with one sword, the sickle that came over from the attack could not reach Liu Bajiu at all. This relieved Liu Bajiu a lot, and he slowly took a step back and stabbed the knife dog twice in a row. 6, 4, 7 The blood strip of the knife dog clearly fell off. As long as it can lose blood. Just when Liu Bajiu thought it wouldn't be long before he could solve the knife dog, he stabbed it in the air on the 4th attempt and suffered a sickle in his shoulder. 8 Liu Bajiu had a damage number floating on his head and looked at his shoulder. Fortunately, there were no injuries, not even his clothes were damaged. Although the pain of being attacked in the game was strong, there were no traces left, which made Liu Bajiu relax a lot. If it's cut to a bloody pulp, it's a bit uncomfortable. After being hit, Liu Bajiu did not panic. He rushed forward and brushed past the knife dog, then turned around and chopped down with his ebony sword. 6. The knife dog had already turned around, and Liu Bajiu's ebony sword struck the knife dog's shoulder. Seeing that the distance was too close, Liu Bajiu took several steps back when he struck again. Dogs who fight with sticks need to engage in close combat, while dogs who fight with knives need to maintain a certain distance. The movement speed and reaction speed of the knife dog were not very fast, and after distancing themselves, Liu Bajiu was not attacked again. However, after being too far away, Liu Bajiu's attack accuracy and strength decreased significantly. In addition, the defense of the knife dog was stronger than that of the stick dog, so it took 2 minutes to solve the problem with the knife dog. The sickle in the dog's hand disappeared, and the body remained. 20 gold coins, a bottle of small gold medicine, and a copper ring were also exposed. Not bad, the copper ring on the equipment has added a bit of attack power. A piece of dog meat with a quality of 10 and a piece of dog skin with a quality of 11 were obtained using segmentation techniques. The stick dog is a long-haired dog, while the knife dog is a short-haired dog. However, the knife dog has a much larger skin and a strong and soft texture. After returning to the village to repair equipment and buy and sell some things to prepare for the next entry, Liu Bajiu withdrew from the game. After exiting the game, Liu Bajiu immediately picked up his phone and took a look. First of all, only a few seconds had passed. When replaying the video, it was true that the person who was originally lying in bed had disappeared for a moment, but immediately appeared in bed again. Although it only disappeared for a moment, it also indicates that the real person entered the game space. Liu Bajiu clenched his fist and found that his strength had indeed increased significantly, and he also felt a lot more energetic. After watching the improvement in the game, it was synchronized with reality. At 7 or 8 o'clock, the sky outside was not yet completely dark, and people were a bit excited. Liu Bajiu also didn't feel sleepy. After some thought, Liu Bajiu brought a bottle of cold beer to the rooftop. Although it is halfway up the mountain, the line of sight is also extremely broad, and at this time, the light is still good, and you can vaguely see the Yangtze River in the distance. Liu Bajiu's house is located by the Yangtze River, and the straight line distance may only be about 1 kilometer, but it takes more than 20 minutes to walk there. After drinking a bottle of beer, the moon has already come out. The wind is strong on the rooftop at night. Don't catch a cold, let's take a break soon. Liu Mama's shout came from downstairs. Got it. He promised, but after going downstairs, Liu Bajiu took 2 more bottles of beer and went upstairs. The moon is quite nice tonight, hanging in the sky like a big plate, very suitable for drinking and admiring the moon. This kind of moonlight is not visible in the city. Unfortunately, Liu Bajiu's alcohol tolerance was not good. Before he could finish 3 bottles of beer, he was already drunk and his eyes were hazy. There seemed to be someone walking down from the moon, and in a daze, he could clearly see the person's face. Liu Bajiu's face was full of sourness. Getting to know each other is by chance, but at this moment, we are together and speechless. A song made Liu Bajiu burst into tears. Idle and idle under the moon, lifting a teapot on a high platform. Xingsuaji drunk and sorrowful songs express emotions and feeling strong alcoholic taste in my dream. A beautiful shadow came before my eyes. Still remember over the past 20 years remaining space with deep affection and heart. It still exists today. Still wish this situation will never change in the next life. End of this chapter.